what the sequencing of those questions could be for a successful phone call. That's really the limit of
how to gather information out sounding like you're reading off of a checklist.
Welcome to the Growth Drivers Podcast, the show where we break down the leadership frameworks, mindset shifts, and strategies that fuel entrepreneurial success, personal transformation, and business breakthroughs.
I'm Rachael Novak.
And I'm Mike Novak.
Let's dive in and start driving your growth.
All right, today we're talking about talking on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
How to have better conversations, how to set more appointments, and ultimately make more money through phone conversion. So a couple things that I would kind of preface this with. I think we can agree that pretty much every agent hates making phone calls. Is that fair to say? I have yet to meet a single agent that says, Mike, I love making phone calls.
No, like even people who are like, oh, I don't mind it. No, you hate it. Just admit, like everybody hates it. It's not fun. It's not great, but you learn to love the process because of the results. As long as you're avoiding these dang mistakes that we're going to go through.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think the difference between agents that become great phone converters and that ultimately become high producers, because phone conversion allows you to become a high producer and scale, is they just still do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they get good, and so it sucks less.
Exactly.
So is it still going to suck? Yes. Is it still going to feel like a grind? Absolutely. Is there going to be days you don't want to do it and still have to do it? Yes. All of those things, right? You're never going to get away from that.
No. It is an essential part of the entire industry of real estate, right? Being able to articulate well over the phone. And we're not talking about selling people. We're not talking about talking somebody into doing something that they don't already want to do. But are you able to articulate points across? Are you able to challenge people's thinking in a good and productive way? And are you able to build a connection and rapport with somebody? Even if you've worked with them before in the past, but it's been 5 to 10 years, like, are you able to really rebuild that relationship with somebody?
Yeah, you need phone skills, whether if it's your sphere or it's people you've never met in your life, right? Like online leads. So I think that knowing we need to do this, just committing to getting really good at it is the mindset to shift into. Right?
100%. Yeah. I mean, why not get really good at it? Why not practice to get phenomenal at it? So it becomes second nature, right? It becomes just part of who you are.
Why do you think it takes agents so freaking long to get good on the phone? Like it's not like a month or 3 months or anything like that. Like it takes a long ass time.
I think with a lot of people, it's because they don't see it as a necessary skill. Like a lot of people will say things like, oh, I'm better in person. Oh, I'm better face to face. Just get me face to face and I'll close them. It's like, who are you closing? Like, what are you doing? Like, you're having a conversation with people. It's like, I don't practice having a great conversation with my aunt. I don't practice having a great conversation with my mom. Like, you just have a conversation with them. You stay curious. It's that people frame this as some sort of weird sales close thing, when at the end of the day, this is just conversations with people.
Yeah. And I mean, I would just laugh when agents give me that excuse, like they're better in person, because if you suck on the phone and having conversations on the phone, you're going to suck having conversations in person too.
Or you're not going to get them in person to have conversations.
Yeah, you'll never get them face to face. So that's just a line of bullshit. If that's the lie you want to tell yourself, you can turn off the podcast right now. Yeah. But for the rest of you that are still here, the mindset that I've always taken to the phone is looking at it like an ATM machine, right? Because when you get really good at it, that's kind of what it turns into. And you can just keep hitting that thing every single day. And it really does produce consistent income if you are consistent on your effort, right?
100%.
So super, super important to be incredibly consistent with it. But let's talk about why agents are bad on the phone, and we can give people some ideas on what they could do better. Yep. So the first reason that they're bad on the phone is because they don't practice.
Correct. And why don't they practice?
Because everyone hates role plays too.
Yes. Everybody, it's embarrassing. Right? Sometimes it's embarrassing to be in a conversation. Like, you have to really humble yourself and have practice conversation with your teammates or with a colleague or whatever to practice a conversation. And sometimes it's awful. Sometimes I'm still like, oh, I don't even know where my brain's at. Like, I don't even know what I'm saying right now. Right? But you have to practice, just like anything. You have to practice in the gym to be a good weightlifter. You have to practice volleyball to be good at volleyball. You have to practice golf at the driving range to be good at golf. Like, it's the exact same transfer of skill sets as any other thing that you'd want to do in your life. So if you are not taking the time to actually practice, then you're not going to get really good, or it's going to take you a really long time to get good because you're practicing on all these clients and likely completely diminishing your potential returns with those people.
Right. As you're practicing on these people, you're just burning opportunities, unfortunately.
Exactly.
So, what is your recommendation for agents for role plays? Like, how do you coach people on that?
I mean, the most important thing with role plays, two things. Number one, do it every single day. Like, do it before you start making phone calls, especially if you're calling like outbound prospecting or if you're doing inbound prospecting leads that have like opted in, for instance, online. Get the butterflies out, get the awkwardness, the nervousness, the excitement out with our teammates or with a colleague. When you and I first got back in real estate in 2016-17, we were in the office role playing, the two of us, before we ever hopped on the phone. And it was always like we would jump up and down and kind of try to change our state a little bit because you've got butterflies in your stomach for some weird reason. Like as if I've never been a shy person in my entire life, but there's something about picking up the phone and trying to have a conversation with a stranger and trying to like figure out details of their life and be curious about what they're trying to do in real estate that changes the way you approach it. Whereas if I now am able to cut my teeth in the morning on a teammate, then now I've kind of got those wiggles out. I've kind of like messed up how I'm going to, and I can bring like a better sense of confidence to that phone call. The other thing is when you are role playing, if you're good, like you got to be a good role play partner, right? So if you and I are role playing and you're practicing a script and you kind of say something that I'm like, ooh, that did not land really well or that didn't come out right, stop that person in the moment and say, hey, try it this way, and then keep going. Don't let them falter through the entire conversation and then be like, oh, at this one point when you said this, try this instead. Mm-hmm. I always will stop my teammate right in the middle and say, hey, instead of this, that kind of landed wrong, try saying it this way, and then keep going with the conversation, because learning in real time will help reframe your brain really quickly for those new conversation pathways.
Yeah, by the end of the role play, you've forgotten what the feedback
exactly.
is. So I actually think role playing with 3 people is ideal because you have the lead, you've got the agent or ISA, and then you've got kind of the coach or the kind of observer. And so that observer is able to like really hone in and pay attention, be present to what they're doing well or what they could work on.
That's what we've been doing on the team recently, which has been great. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like having a 3-pack of people for role plays. I think, dedicating 10 to 30 minutes a day is a really good thing to do. Mm-hmm. First thing in the morning, like you said, fanatical prospecting, maybe one of the best books when it comes to the mindset of being a great phone converter. That Jeb Blount talks about eating the frog every morning. That's doing the hardest thing, right? And so role plays are often going to be that. Don't delay it. Just do it first thing you get in the office and then get right on the phone after role plays, right?
100%.
Just tackle it, right? Get that out of the way. And even if you just do a half-hour role play and 90 minutes of phone conversion, that's 2 hours of your day. You have the whole rest of the day. By 10:30, you could go do anything else that you want.
Exactly. Like, when we really think about what it takes to build a business, people spend so much time procrastinating the actual revenue generating activities like phone calls, which then should proceed after role plays. Like you said, you can be done by 10:30, 11 in the morning. And then if you don't want to do anything else that day, you've at least done something in your business. That's like a 10-hour-a-week job.
Right. But that 10 hours a week, could make you piles and piles of money.
Yeah, multiple 6 figures. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. And typically, like when you see agents that have that roller coaster income where they have a great month and then a bad month, it's because they stopped prospecting. You know what I mean? They took their foot off the throttle, or they started really paying attention to their pendings and not to new clients and things like that. So when it comes to like being a good role play partner, just to go deeper on what you said, I think it's really important to have in your mind who you're going to be for this person. Mm-hmm. Like, am I going to be a buyer that needs to sell? Am I going to be just a home valuation lead? Am I going to be an open house lead? And then we also role play different disc profiles as
personalities,
well. Yeah. So I think that's really important. Don't just default to playing who you are. That's not going to help out, because what if they get another personality on the phone that's not you? You know what I mean? That's problematic for sure.
Exactly.
And then also take role plays and expand them out beyond the phone, right? Like we role play buyer consultations, listing appointments, the closings for both of those things, commission objections. Like these are all things that you should be practicing. It's not just phone, right?
And multiple times a year, we'll spend a week role playing social settings, right? Like when you go to a networking event or you go to weddings in the summertime, as a real estate agent, what is the question that you get asked every single time somebody sees you who hasn't seen you in a while, who knows you're in real estate?
How's the market, Mike?
How's the market? How do you respond? Like role play that, like know exactly what to say, know what's going on in the market so you can answer that question. We role play that multiple times a year, 100%.
So that's the practice part of it. The second thing. The reason that agents are bad on the phone, in my opinion, is because they don't have a system on how they're going to do it. They just come in and they're like, I don't know who I'm going to call today. Everyone's just kind of created equal in the database, or they don't even have a database, and they're just calling with their cell phone, like circle prospecting around their listing and things like that. So talk about process and systems for just a minute. Like, how can they get a better idea of what to do?
Yeah. So there's multifacets to this, of course. If you're somebody who pays for leads, and so you're investing in Zillow or Realtor.com or pay-per-click, or you're doing some sort of online lead generation and do not have a CRM that you can bring those people into and organize them in a very succinct way, you are leaving tons of opportunity on the table, and not just money that you can make, but serving a lot of people at a high level. So number one, like, get a freaking CRM, and that's probably a whole other podcast that we need to do. Secondly, if you don't have a CRM and you also don't pay for leads and you rely on your Sphere and you rely on circle prospecting or expireds, FSBOs, that kind of thing, have a specific framework for every single day that you go in. So like the night before, know exactly, okay, I pulled this list from the title company. I have 150 names and numbers that are like the people around this listing that I just listed or a house that I just sold. Know that that's the list you're going to call. Practice the script that you're going to call and use on those people. And then similarly, if you're just calling Sphere, who are you calling? Like, is it the people from your gym tomorrow? Is it the people from your church the next day? Like, just have a plan going into it. When you wake up in the morning, you're kind of like, ugh, I don't know.
Yeah, well, the reason I bring this up is because, like, when agents don't know exactly what to do, they tend to not do anything.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So having clarity about what is the action I'm going to take becomes very, very important, right? If you have to come in and think about who you should call, you've kind of already lost the day. You know what I mean?
100%
it needs to be really clear. Like, I know this list, and this list. I'm going to do all of these things today, right? So figuring out your system is really important. At our coaching company, Warrior Coaching, we have like a very specific framework on the call lists we create, the cadences, the follow-ups, all of those things, so that when agents walk into the office, they know exactly what it takes to get their CRM caught up for the day.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And then to piggyback on that, a lot of people are bad on the phone, not just because they don't have a system, but then they don't have a call framework going into those conversations. So talk about that for a second.
Well, so, I mean, before we talk about framework, we should talk about scripts, because a lot of agents still are with the mindset that they need to memorize a script, or they try to be very robotic because they're super nervous about being on the phone.
Sure.
And so when I coach people, I really like to coach them on starting with a script and using that as the kind of understanding what questions to ask, and then throw the script in the garbage and just talk to the person like they're a human. So, but it is helpful when you start and you're a brand new agent or converter to understand, hey, these are the questions I should ask. And this is kind of an idea of what the sequencing of those questions could be for a successful phone call. That's really the limit of a script, right? Like, we're not like one of those coaching companies that tells you like, hey, like you got to be
mama,
like chanting this thing from the top of the rooftops and everyone's the same. Like that's not what top converters do. That's what very mediocre converters do. That's what shitty real estate coaches tell you to do, to be perfectly honest with you as well. So the better thing to do, like, have scripts. And again, we have proven scripts we share with people, but then master the framework. And the framework that I love is a 4-part framework. It starts with the motivation. Right. And we'll talk more about, kind of transactionalizing phone calls and the mistake here in a minute that agents make, but really getting into the person's motivation as fast as possible. Like, I was just doing a coaching session with our own ISA, and we listened to one of his calls, and he didn't talk about their motivation until 7 minutes into the phone call. Huge mistake, right? And so if you can get to motivation in the first 20 seconds, that really is going to shift the quality of that phone call.
Gonna lay the ground.
And it also takes you to the second part of the 4-part framework. After connection is connection. Right? Or sorry, after motivation is connection. Yes. And so those two things really go hand in hand, right? Because when you understand motivation, then you can get the personal story, and now you can connect with the person, right? So motivation, connection, they work together. The third part would be qualification, right? Is this person really qualified to transact and do something? If you do that too soon, like if you do that right out of the gates, you haven't really earned the trust of that person to ask them personal financial questions, and you're going to get shut down every single time. So there's a reason it's the third thing, right? Well, you're going to get like, I'm not going to tell you that, right? I'm not going to tell you my credit scores or how much money I've got saved. And the last part is just setting the appointment, right? So again, motivation, connection, qualification, appointment. And if you can have all that, you're good. So no LP mama here, no chanting scripts from the top of your lungs or jumping up and down, just commit to the framework.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the, like, to kind of play off of that call framework, the way that I have coached a lot of our agents in our coaching company as well is, obviously there's a basic amount of qualifying information that you need to have in order to set a quality appointment, right? You need to make sure that you've got finances, you got to make sure they have the motivation, they have the timeline, you have all these things. And so really you're almost kind of working off of like an internal checklist of items that you need to be able to qualify in order to set a quality appointment. So the goal of the role plays, right, before getting on the calls is to practice how to gather information that you need in essentially a checklist form without sounding like you're reading off of a checklist.
Right.
Right. You're
People can
internalizing
really,
this.
pick that up.
100%. It's like, okay, and moving on to qualify, like, you can easily sound like
Yeah, sound like you're reading right now.
Like, are you doing like an intake form?
Right. Yeah. So that's really, really important. And if you get the framework correct, it's going to really shift the quality of your conversations for sure. It's going to make you far less transactional also.
Exactly.
The next one, they don't really prepare for brush-offs and objections. Can you just kind of define for people what the difference is between those two things?
Sure. So brush-offs would be things like getting spoused, right? We call that something like, oh no, I'm just looking for fun.
Yeah, just looking is the one everyone's going to see.
Yeah, just totally curious. Oh no, like, oh, my husband is not ready. Like, I'm not serious. This and that. Like, people are going to start with that because that's a brush-off, right? They're just going to kind of brush off and see like, I'm not ready to talk to this person. I don't really want to divulge into information to this person. I don't trust this person. I know this person. So brush off is going to be Whereas objections typically are rooted in either some sort of fear or uncertainty or fact, right? An objection could be, well, I'm not actually retiring until 2027. So I'm having no plans to sell my house until I'm retired. Or I'm in a lease and I absolutely can't get out of it until next February. So like those are legitimate objections that can obviously be worked around in regards to their timeline. Brush offs are just, quick, just looking for fun. I was just curious about the neighborhood, whatever.
So if you've got like a legit objection, like you were saying, like retirement, or, their lease is up, what about like objections where the person's just testing you?
Sure.
Right?
Like
you
what?
Want to talk about that? Well, where they're like, they're saying, well, I'm going to actually go interview like 3 or 4 agents and I'll call you, if I want to meet with you, something like that. Or how much do you charge for your commissions? Or, I just really want the cheapest listing agent. Like these are all objections, right? And so what about that part of objections too? I
mean, there's a lot to navigate on the phone. Like, for me personally, when I get these kind of objections over the phone, it really has more to do with, if they're asking me these things or they're challenging me, I have obviously not provided enough value or built enough rapport with that person to get them to trust me, to believe that I'm the best person for the job. So I either need to continue to dig on the personal side of things and continue to build rapport, or I'm not gonna negotiate over the phone when I haven't even met them, right? There's no context for like a relationship over the phone. If they are incredibly transactional, or if they're just looking for the cheapest person, I'll kind of handle an objection the way of like looking for the cheapest thing. You're going to get what you're going to pay for, and sometimes it's not a fit, and I know that right away, depending on the objection that they give.
Mm-hmm. But would you still like, if someone said, hey, I just want the least expensive option, you would still try to work through that objection, meet them in person, and see if you can challenge their thinking, right? Because a lot of objections to me are misconceptions.
Exactly.
Right? Where the person's actually needing their mindset challenged and the assumptions they're making challenged, right? Okay. And so like another kind of example of like a legit objection could be the market, right? Waiting for the market to go down or go up, or interest rates. Like those are also objections that you got to get really good at handling. And so coming up with like a list of these objections and then role playing them so that you're kind of actually excited when you get it, that's the place you want to get to. You're like, hey, you've already got an agent. Sweet. Let's go down that rabbit hole, right? Like, let's see if you really have an agent, or if you're just kind of giving me that objection. Okay, you just want the cheapest commission. Let's handle that objection, right? You want to interview 17 agents. Okay, let's handle that objection, right? You want to wait for rates to go down. Let's handle that one, right? Like, can you actually like rapid fire these? And I love rapid fire objection role plays where we're just like throwing objections at each other. Like, give me your worst curveball. You know what I mean? Another one that I've gotten a lot is I just want to talk to the listing agent, like a buyer, right? Like, again, it's a misconception. They think they're going to get a better deal, right? So how can you challenge that person's thinking and establish very quickly that's not in their best interest? Yeah,
I mean, the majority of the time, those misconceptions or objections have a lot more to do with needing simply more information or more education in that realm than it does them actually being a hardline believing what they're saying.
Right. And when agents hear objections, they get scared and they get really defensive. And that's actually not what you want to do, right? You actually want to get, like I said, get kind of excited and look at it as an opportunity to clarify something.
Yes.
Right. And challenge thinking a little bit more and then actually tell them the truth.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons, like you said, that agents are bad on the phone. If they're not practicing, if they don't see those as opportunities to educate or inform or build more rapport, then the mindset going into the conversation, like you're not having a good mindset.
Right. Exactly. Okay. What about fear of rejection? I mean, that's definitely another reason that agents are bad on the phone. And oftentimes fear of rejection will show up in a couple of different ways that I've observed. One is people just won't do it. Right. Like they won't get on the phone. Or two, when they get on the phone, they're very timid. Have you seen that?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I think everybody, just to be super clear, like everybody starts out with the fear of rejection. Nobody likes getting rejected. But if you look at the mindset that I took when we got back into real estate, when we were hopping on the phone with all these people that we didn't know, all these leads that we were, bringing in and that were inquiring about properties on our website, when I'm calling these people, if I know the statistics, for me, the data was really helpful having my brain. If I know the statistics that, of these leads, maybe one or two are going to convert in the first 3 months. And then maybe another one or two are going to convert in the next year and a half. So in my mind, if I make 100 phone calls, I maybe get 2 people that are interested in buying or selling real estate in the next 30 days to 90 days. Mm-hmm. So every single no that I'm getting, every time I'm getting rejection, I'm that much closer to the person that's going to say yes. So having that mindset of walking in and being like, I'm expecting to be rejected. Like that's an expectation that I have and I'm okay with it. That has nothing to do with my skill set. That has nothing to do with how good I am at what I do. It has everything to do with the fact that that person is not ready, not qualified. It's not in their wheelhouse right now. It's not something that they're prioritizing in their life. And that's totally okay. At the end of the day, what do we tell our clients, right? I don't care when you transact. I don't care when you buy or when you sell. All I care about is that you do it with me. So I'll wait. So a rejection really is being able to delay the gratification of the yes, of the appointment, right? And take it in the teeth. They take it on the chin over and over and over, understanding that every no you're getting is one no closer to the yes.
Right. I think when you, those are great points, by the way. And I think that when you consider the concept of rejection, it's really helpful to consider the worst case scenario that can come out of a phone call, right?
Like what?
Somebody could scream at you and tell you to go off. And,
it's happened.
And like that, I mean, some people that just destroys them, right? But let's put that in context. You don't know this person. This person likely doesn't know you either, right? So they probably just caught them at a bad moment.
Totally.
And ultimately, like I just told Isaiah, or I say too, the hang up button works both ways. Like I can hang up on you just as fast as you can hang up on me. And if I don't like you, I'm hanging up on you, right?
But that mindset is rare. Like a lot of real estate agents don't have that mindset. They're cling on to every lead as if this lead is the money that I'm waiting for, when they don't realize that that's probably one of the 98 no's that I need to let go so that I can get closer to my yes.
Right. So I just think about the worst case scenario and then ask yourself, am I okay with this? If you're not okay with this, you may honestly not be cut out for being a top producer. You can go sell 5 or 10 homes a year to your sphere or whatever, but you're never going to go get to 100 deals a year by not being able to conquer that. You know what I mean? It's a real limiting belief for a lot of people. And there's a reason why in every single organization, even Fortune 500 companies, and I always tell people this, the 2 people that make the most money is the CEO and it's the top salespeople, right? And the reason it's the top salespeople is because top salespeople drive the revenue for the whole organization, and organizations die without revenue, and because very few people can handle rejection. How do you become a top salesperson? You get really good at sales and you handle rejection.
Handle it like a pro. Exactly.
So it's directly proportionate to your income.
It is 100%. That's a great point.
So the next one, and we talked a little bit about this, is they're transactional, right? And this kind of goes back to the call framework a little bit, right? You want to talk about this and how you see this show up?
Yeah, a lot of people, and we learned this from our coach Eric Hatch. We learned so much from him. So shout out Eric Hatch on this. But people make it about the real estate and not about the person, right? And so when you are in a phone call and you're consistently asking more about the house they were interested in or the house that they want, paint me a picture of what the house looks like you're looking for, as opposed to being like, what kind of lifestyle do you want to live? Why is it important to your life? Why is it important to your spouse? Why, like, is having dogs, like, what is it about that house that is important to their life? Make it more about the human connection. Make it more about the lifestyle that they're looking for. Make it more about the quality of life that they're looking to have, and less about the house. And you will go immediately from transactional to relational, which is one of the key points of being a top producer and selling a lot of real estate or any sales in general, is what is the connection with what I can provide, the skill sets I can provide you to get to this goal? It's not that house. It's not the house on Cedar Street. It's not it's the lifestyle that you're looking for with the payment that you're comfortable with.
Right. And also, why the hell do you want to make a move? Right?
Yeah.
Like, I got to understand.
What's your motivation?
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the easiest way to get past transactionalizing it, is just find out why.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what does every 2-year-old say a bajillion times? Why, Mom? Why? Become a 2-year-old, right? It's a great question. Why does that matter to you?
Tell me more. Mm-hmm.
Why do you want to make a move?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What do you want to change about your current living situation? Right? Like, just get really good at asking those super basic questions. And if you don't, like, when people transactionalize phone calls, it's because they don't know what to say.
Correct.
And if you actually just shift a little bit and you stop thinking about what you're going to say next, and you just become very present in the phone call, you listen to what they're saying, they're actually going to tell you what to ask next. And that's like where this game really gets fun, because people say little things, and your ability to pick up on those little things and then ask clarifying questions is how you get that massive deep connection.
Excellent point. Like, this is exactly how we coach our team and our clients, is you need to listen to hear what that person is saying, not listen to respond to what they're saying.
Right.
Listen to hear it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Next one, they don't know how to hunt through a database, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we see this one all the time. Our team has 80,000 leads in our database. And I've seen new agents come into our team. They start calling random people, right? And so why is that a big mistake?
Well, with the kind of technology that our team invests in, and a lot of top teams across the nation invest in, you're actually able to filter within your database people who have been active on the website, right? So it's going to make sense if we put ourselves in the shoes of the people on the other side of the website. I'm not calling people. It's not going to be productive for me to call people who haven't even looked at a house online in 6 months.
Or 6 years, like our database, right? Like,
but if I'm able to filter and say, hey, these 100 people have all looked at a property or two in the last 2 weeks and they haven't been called, that's probably a pretty good list. Recently they've been on a website looking at something. That's a great opportunity to open a conversation about curiosity, looking for fun, or thinking about making a move.
Right. Yeah. So we're talking about behavioral-based calling and follow-up, and this is a really big concept for people, and a lot of agents don't even think about this. They just jump in the database, guns a-blazing. They don't slow down enough to really get strategic about who they're going to call. If you only have 90 minutes to call today, who are the most important people you're going to call during that period of time? I mean, that's probably 40 to 50 phone calls.
Yeah.
If I put a gun to your head and say you have to get 2 appointments today out of 40 to 50 phone calls, can you tell me who you're going to call? Right?
It's extreme, but yes.
Well, pressure's on.
Apparently.
Right? Russian roulette, baby. But this is a real skill, right? And it's a real skill gap as well. And what you're talking about is, not only the behavioral-based follow-up, but it's kind of looking at the life cycle of the purchase decision to buy a home, right? People don't make an instant decision to buy a house in most cases, unless you're like using Zillow or something like that. And we don't even like that there's a whole bunch of different reasons and rabbit holes to go down. But typically people go on to websites and look at homes months, if not years, before they're thinking about making a move. They're just curious to check out pricing, get a feel for things, and look around.
Yeah, gather information.
And so it's when they go from what I call the information collection phase to a purchasing decision phase, like, hey, I'm actually going to do this, that you want to catch them. And so you have to use technology that tips you off and tells you things like Ylopo does this better than anyone, right? Hey, this person is doing this behavior. You should go follow up with this person.
Right.
They put it on a list for you in your CRM, right? And then be reaching out to those people. Some of my favorite signals are the people that have been off the website for years and they come back.
Yeah.
Like, that's really interesting. I want to know why, right? The other one is someone who views the same property 3, 4, 5 times. they liked something about this house. I need to figure out why.
They're dreaming about it.
Right?
They're putting furniture in it.
Right. So I would like hone in on those two, right? And if that doesn't give you enough people to call, you can go to people that like save houses, that open emails. Like there's so many different things that you can track now on what people are doing to get insights into who to really focus your attention to, you know?
I love it.
So the next one, I know this is a long list, but there's a lot of reasons agents are bad on the phone. I got two more for you. They don't know how to articulate value. What does that mean?
They are unable to convey what it is that we do and why we're an important part of the process.
Okay. Yeah, good. Right. And can you make the person feel confident about your competency?
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
And real estate is like a big decision, right? Like, I mean, a lot of times this is the most amount of money someone's going to spend in their life.
Hundreds of thousands.
What do they want? They want confidence. They want assurance that who they're going to put their trust in is going to be able to get the job done for them. They're not going to pressure them to make a bad decision. They're going to guide and navigate them through the process. As an industry, we have a horrible reputation, right?
Terrible.
Like slimy used car salesmen. Like you hear this shit all the time,
Do
right?
bare minimum for huge checks.
How can you flip that script on its head and bring massive, massive value to these phone calls, right? And knowing your market, knowing the process, knowing how to explain these complex things in very simple frameworks and language patterns becomes the way that you do that.
Well, and we could probably go like really deep in regards to the actual language patterns, or you can go to the warrioragent.com/warrior bundle and go grab our entire masterclass on this entire thing.
Yeah, we break this all down.
Yeah. But like going back to why role plays are so important, to be able to convey and articulate value means you have to be confident in what you're saying. And even saying things like, well, you know, like even the little transitional
people
words.
Pick up on that stuff.
Yes, they hear that and they go, uncertain, unsure, not confident. Those tiny little unspoken well, I guess they're spoken, but those unspoken little phrases that sound like nothing, that feel like fillers of space in a conversation, do not articulate value. They do not convey confidence. So role playing and being able to be very articulate, being able to be very concise, not use filler words like, okay, make a huge difference in that articulation of value.
Right. And so like, how do you know if you're articulating value well? Well, obviously setting appointments is a really good indicator of that.
Barometer.
But the second thing is, do people show up for your appointments,
Yeah.
right? I always tell people, if you can make the person want the appointment more than you want it, like they almost feel like it would be a financial disaster to not meet with you, that's a good place to be.
100%. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So that one takes some time. Like new agents, new ISAs, they struggle with this for like 6 to 9 months. And then all of a sudden, typically it's like, hey, now they understand the process. They understand how to explain it. They've kind of seen a lot of these different scenarios. They know how to really articulate it, and they're good to go. And people feel that, right? That feeling is what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So really important. And then the last one is they don't know how to close somebody, right? So what does that mean exactly? Like, again, we're not like trying to be like pushy used car salesmen here, but there are some frameworks that will help you close more leads into appointments, right?
Absolutely. I mean, so the way that I would break it down in my mind is it's as simple as acting like a professional and saying, okay, great. So the next step in the process is we meet up for 20, 30 minutes. We go over the process together. We articulate what value, like what must-haves you have in the property, or walk through your property, whatever that looks like. This is the next step in the process, right? That's you articulating as a professional. And that's closing somebody. That's saying, hey, the next step is an appointment. Like, this makes sense now. It's a logical next step. Whereas a lot of real estate agents will be like, okay, well, do you want to like get together? Like, what day is good for you?
Or the worst thing they do is they say, I'll set up a search for you. Like, you just had this person in your fingertips, like eating out of your hand, basically asking you for an appointment, and you didn't just tell them what the next step is. The next step part is the part I want to emphasize, what you just said. Like Sharon says, everyone just wants to know, what's the next step, right? Just tell me so I know what to do. I haven't done this before, or maybe I've done this 2 or 3 times in my life, but you do this every freaking day. Tell me with confidence what I need to do and why I need to do it, right? And that's what we're talking about with the close, right?
Exactly.
And it's not like some pushy close, but can you articulate why you should meet with me?
Exactly. Okay, I'm going to liken this to another profession, like a doctor or a dentist. Okay, if I'm calling in and I wanted some information, how much does this cost? How much does this cost? What does this cost? They don't then say, okay, well, we'll shoot you a WebMD link so you can get some more information on that. They go, okay, great. When would you like to set your appointment? I've got this time and this time available with this doctor. Right. Why are real estate agents not seeing that as the exact same thing? Like, we're also a professional. Like, it's the exact same close. It's no pressure, but this is the logical next step.
So in our buyer and seller master classes, we do give people our exact closes for both buyers and sellers that you can go check out on the Warrior Agent. So they're in there and they work really freaking well, like tested thousands of times.
Literally thousands of times. So I think we've articulated pretty well why agents are bad on the phone.
Yeah. So maybe like think through these and think maybe some of these you don't do, but some of them I'm sure that you do and really think about what you could do to improve and show up your game. But again, it can take a while to address all these things. So let's give you something more positive on how you could fix some of these things and give you a little bit more detail on the call framework. I think that could be really helpful for people. The first mistake that's easy to fix is the introduction that people have. When you're calling a lead and they don't know you, you've got about 10 seconds in that phone call for that lead to decide if they're going to listen to what you are saying or if they're going to hang up on you, right? Because they don't know who you are. You're catching them probably at a weird time. And why should I stay on the phone with you, right? Mm-hmm. So can you tell me really, really quickly why you're calling?
Exactly.
Right?
And just pro tip for real estate agents, when you're calling somebody and they don't know you and you don't really know them and you're looking to potentially open a conversation for a potential sale, the worst thing that you can do, the fastest way to create that sales wall defense from that lead is to call and say, oh, hey, Mike, it's Rachel from the Novak team. How are you?
Yeah.
Boom. You're a salesperson.
And I think there's some, from what I've heard from our friends in the South, like it's rude if you don't do this. And so like
maybe
in the
it's
South,
location specific.
Okay. But in the Northwest up here, like we ain't got no time for that.
No, people will be like, click.
Like, you don't give a shit how I feel. Why are you even asking me? Like, it comes, this is really disingenuous. But for our South friends, like our good buddy Blake, he's always told me, like, you got to ask people how they're doing, Mike. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay. Or Wendy, as well. So
okay. All right.
I think some of that is geographically based. But another like big intro mistake I see is agents will call and they'll just say like, hey, Rachel, it's Mike Novak. I saw that you were interested in 123 Main Street. Do you have any questions on that house? Right? Why is that kind of a dead end and just kind of a non-starter? Because
it's way too broad. You have absolutely no frame of reference whatsoever. Why they were curious about it, what they're interested in it. Like it's too much for them to process who this person is, why they're calling, what they're calling from, and then to try to answer a completely broad, open answered question when they don't trust you. I wouldn't tell you. Like, why would I tell you what I'm interested in? No, I don't have any questions. I have 1,000 questions, but I don't even know how to start asking the first one.
Right. And it's kind of a yes or no question, I guess I have questions. I don't know if I have questions.
But they don't want people don't want to admit
know you, so I don't want to tell you I have questions.
People don't want to say, oh yeah, I have a ton of questions, right? It's the rarity that somebody's like, oh, I have a ton of questions actually.
Right. So again, if we go back to the framework of the call, the ideal framework, it really bypasses the connection and motivation opportunity that you have on a phone call. So definitely not the best way to go. But I see like 95% of agents make that mistake. And it's going to set you up for a lot of struggle on the phone. So get a better intro than that. Tell people who you are, why they're calling, and try to get to the motivation as fast as possible. Okay.
Yeah.
So when it comes to motivation, figuring out why they want to make a move is obviously the single most important thing. The soonest you can ask that question, the better off you're going to be. If you ask that quick enough in the phone call, you may actually not even talk about the house again. Right? Like your best phone calls are when you don't actually know anything about the location they want to buy in or what they want in a home, but you know everything about this person. Like Chuck on our team, it comes to mind, right?
He's
like
phenomenal.
By the time he gets off the phone and sets an appointment, he knows their grandkid's name. He knows their dog had for dinner last night. He knows where they went to
high school.
Yeah, exactly. He knows like all of their friends, and like that's what you want, right? Like that is hitting connection, like just totally on the head.
Well, and this is really important. And we honed this in big time in 2020 and 2021, because when people were calling signs, right? When we were getting sign calls in, 99% of the time, that house was already under contract or it had 18 offers waiting to be reviewed on it. And so the house was irrelevant at that point. So what we found really, really quickly was if we ask what questions they have about the house, well, that house isn't available. So now we've just completely missed an opportunity to open a great conversation with somebody. Whereas if we open up with, oh, hey, are you thinking about making a move? Or is this the neighborhood that you've been looking at? Like make it about them, what their motivation is, and not about the house itself, because that house is irrelevant, especially if it's under contract already.
Yeah, this totally works for sign calls as well. That's a great point. The next part of motivation is really understanding what they want to change from their current house. Like this could be something like, I just want to own and not rent.
Yeah.
It could be that I want more space or less space or different location. But that's going to really help you understand motivations when you can dig into what they want to change and what the current pain point is with where they're living now, right? Like you got to go deep on that one. That's motivation. What about connection? Like, what about that?
Yeah, I mean, the connection really comes down to once you understand, if they're wanting to make that move, why they're wanting to make that move, what pain point is driving them or timeline is driving them to make this move, now we can really start connecting with them on a personal level. So a lot of times moves are prompted by things like a divorce or a death or a retirement.
Life events, right?
Yeah, big life events are typically they're entering into a new season, a new chapter. And that's how we've always looked at our role in real estate is we get to be a character in a chapter of this person's life, right? And that does not lost on us how important that is and how big of a deal that is. And so if I know that I'm going to play an important integral part, I'm going to play an important character in this person's story of their entire life, and they're going to look back on this chapter and I'm going to be a part of it, then it's really important that I understand everything about what it is that they're doing, wanting, looking for, why that's important to them, who else is involved, who else I need to be able to be involved with in regards to that. And so knowing the why, the when, the who are all very, very important, way more so than what color of house they want or what layout of floor plan they want, right? It's about the person.
Yeah, the life event is probably the most important part of connection. Yeah. And then qualification. And I bring up qualification. This is part of the framework for a lot of reasons. Like we want to make sure we don't waste time on leads that can't actually do anything. But we equally don't want to not set appointments until someone gets approved. Like that's a huge mistake that the agents make. They're like, well, I don't want to waste my time. You're not pre-approved, so I'm not going to meet with you, right? That's not good enough, actually. You need to get really good at asking questions to decide if this person could get approved or not, right? So what are some of those questions and like how would you kind of unpack this?
Yeah. Well, it's obviously going to depend on whether they own a home or not. So if they own a home, obviously it's really important that you understand how long they've owned it, what kind of potential equity you can kind of project they have in it. And then, of course, are they working? What is their current income? You can't ask that always right away, but you can ask questions like, what do you do for work? How long have you been there? What do you do there? Like to kind of understand, are they in a managerial position? Did they just start? Are they going to actually be able to qualify for a loan if they need it? So if they own a home, those are good questions to ask. If they're first-time home buyers and they're renting, asking questions like, what is it that you pay per month? Is that a comfortable rate? Is there flexibility for more? Have you by chance saved up any money for any closing costs or down payment? Like asking these general questions to kind of get an understanding of the financial scope of where they're sitting is incredibly important for the initial qualifying over the phone. And then, of course, if things sound like they're decent, like you're not going to ask somebody like, have you ever filed for bankruptcy before? Don't ask that. But you can ask after a couple of leading questions, do you happen to have any idea what your credit score could be? And asking a simple question like that, people will tell you if they're proud of it. If they're not proud of it, they'll be like, oh, it's really bad.
If you ask at the right time,
Correct.
Right? Like there's a reason that we've already got motivation connection tackled before we get here, because this is all about timing, right?
Yes.
At this point, you should know a lot about them, about why they were thinking about making a move, buying or selling. They should feel like they can trust you. And so now they're feeling comfortable that you're not some like online scammer or just some, random person that they don't know. And they're going to actually answer these questions.
Exactly.
Right? Like the trust is much, much higher.
Yeah. So really it's like the payment, the ownership, the job situation. Like you can deduce a lot from that information that you don't have to get super personal right up front with those.
Right. So payment relevancy is really important if the person's renting. Like, is what they're paying in rent going to translate into buying a house in our market? Like in our market, rents are quite a bit lower than a mortgage payment. And so oftentimes there's a big gap there, and understanding if they can go up higher or not becomes very, very important as well. So.
Exactly.
The other thing I'd mention on qualification is like you need to listen for cues and you need to know when to move on. Like I've heard people like really kind of like almost go down this checklist of questions we give them, but they just told you they work at Amazon and they've been there for 8 years and they're a product manager. Like what goes on in your head when I tell you that? This person probably makes really good money, right?
Yeah.
So I'm done qualifying you right then and there, right? I know I'm good. Or we're just talking to a doctor like the other day, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, like let's use some common sense here and know like the average doctor here makes $600,000 a year.
Yeah.
I've checked that box,
Yeah.
right?
If somebody has been a doctor and they're Swedish and they've been there for 6 years, you don't have to be like, do you happen to know what your credit score could be? Like,
right.
There's going to be,
Well, if you don't pick up on those cues, you get out of rapport really quick.
Exactly.
That's why
That's a really good point. Yeah.
So that brings us to the appointment. Let's talk about the A or the B close. Like this is something that we coach people on. The A or the B close is really giving people 2 different times that you could meet with them, right? So know those 2 appointment times that you got available before you get on the phone. Just say, how's today at 4 or Saturday at 11? Don't ask them like, how does that sound? You kind of mentioned that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Or would you find value in that? Like these are really passive closes, right? Just have a confident, assertive close. And don't ask them if they want to meet with you. Just say this time or this time.
Yeah, because this is the logical next step, guys. Like we talked about, I'm a professional. When I meet with people, I am there to do work. I am there to work for them. I am there to help them through an entire process that involves a lot of money, a lot of coordination, and a lot of time. And so I don't want to waste mine and I don't want to waste theirs. So if I'm going to say, hey, it sounds like the logical next step is definitely this. Like it sounds like you're prepared. So I've got Monday at 5 p.m. or I've got Friday at 10 a.m. Which one of those work for you?
Right. And then really articulating what you're doing. Like I said earlier, for the buyer consultation, what I really like to say is like, okay, like you said, the next step, that's a really part of the language pattern. So the next step would be to meet for, 30 to 40 minutes in my office where I can walk you through the home buying process, get you up to speed in the market, and identify exactly what we're looking for in your next home. House today at 4, tomorrow at 6, right? There's the A or the B close and the articulation of what we're going to do.
Yeah. So
right?
Don't call it a buyer consultation. And I don't even love to call it an appointment.
Strategy session is gross too. Like it feels like a gym membership.
We're literally getting together to discuss the process.
Right. On the seller side, I like to again, very much articulate what we're going to do. So reviewing your upgrades, looking at comps, walking you through the listing process, and then really pinpointing your equity position. And notice I didn't say pinpoint your sales price.
Yes.
There's a very, very big difference. We don't have time to go into that today, but pinpointing equity is going to be a lot more successful for you. Just trust me on that. Anything else that we should talk about?
I mean, in regards to the appointment?
Just anything on phone conversion. We just gave people a whole coaching call right here on this podcast.
Yeah, we
right?
did.
The curiosity part would be kind of the last thing that I would add, just like being curious about every single thing. Curious converters just do better. Again, not to keep bringing up Chuck, but Chuck is super curious about everything and he wants to know why people are doing X or Y. And that leads to really good conversations.
Yeah. I mean, I think like what this all really comes down to be a really good converter and be able to be very curious in conversation and also have rapport and all these things is to continue to build and work on and hone your emotional intelligence, right? Your EQ, your ability to pick things up that are unspoken, your ability to hear tone of voice, your ability to articulate and change tone of voice and tonality and volume and speed and pace and mirroring and matching. Like all of these things are so important in language anyways. The better that you can become in regards to your language patterns, the more emotionally intelligent you can become on the phone. It's not going to feel personal anymore when you're asking personal questions. And I think that's one big hurdle that a lot of people, the same people that have the fear of rejection, have the fear of asking personal questions. They don't want to ask something that feels like too personal. Guys, when you go to the doctor and your doctor asks you about your bowel movements, does it feel really personal? Why, yes. However, they're your doctor, so they need to know. So don't ask people about that. But when you ask people about what do they do for work, do you happen to have any idea what you brought home last year? Like that would be an important question depending on, of course, the job that they provided. So being curious, asking those kind of questions, those are important parts of the process to understand if you can help that person or not. So get over the fact that it's a personal question because this is a personal process. Your point is exactly right. Stay curious and be curious multiple levels. So they tell you, you ask something, they tell you. That's going to open up an opportunity to gather more information on that particular subject with this person. So it's, tell me more about that. Why is that? Right?
Why does that matter to you?
Exactly.
Awesome. So there's a lot of nuances to all this. As you can see, like there's a lot of stuff we just shared with you. If you need help implementing this stuff, we teach all this stuff in our coaching programs, thewarrioragent.com. We will help you implement and learn all these things and drastically increase the amount of time or speed the time up it's going to take to actually put these into your business. Right?
100%.
Instead of 3 years, you can do it in 3 months.
We want you to work less and sell more.
There you go. See you next week.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Growth Drivers.
If you found value in this conversation, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with a fellow entrepreneur.
For more insights, tools, and resources, visit us at thewarrioragent.com.
Keep pushing forward, keep leading with purpose, and we'll see you next time.